Good afternoon, guys. My name is Elva Morales, and my presentation was on child trafficking. So, on this first slide, I wanted to give the definition that I thought child trafficking was. So, child trafficking is the illegal movement of exportation of children to different countries for the purpose of forced labor or sexual exploitation. So I found out that over 40 million victims of human trafficking globally, 25% are children. The other 75% are adults. The average age of victims are 12 to 14 years old. That is said that children are wanted in their teenage years. Children are trafficked for sex 4 times more than adults. So that means that children are most wanted in this trafficking, human trafficking. And approximately a child is sold for sex 20 to 30 times a day. So, how do the children become victims of the traffickers? Well, the traffickers go to third world countries and they see what their victims needs. And most of their needs are food, clothes, and a safe place. But when it comes to teenagers in the US, we see that the most important for a teenager is money and the attention because most parents work daily and do not have the time to be with their children. So, what do these traffickers give? They give them money and the attention they have been asking for. And this is when the traffickers take advantage of these young girls or men. So on this next slide, I wanted to show the traffickers' goals. So the first thing that traffickers want to do is to create a cultivating relationship. They want to have the trust and they want to have the child's attention just to them. They endangering a false sense of trust. They give them money, they give them the attention, they give them all they want in order to be with them. So after that, they isolate the child from everybody. They hide them from their family members. They hide them from the community that they used to live in. So after that, they keep the children trapped in a life of prostitution or in hard labor and don't get the attraction or get to associate themselves with other people. So I have said in the previous slide where the traffickers go, and this is the third world countries. So most of them are from South and Southeast Asia, Central America, and South America with the same destination. Their destination is entering the US. And that's when the children become trafficked. This is when the children are taken abused of. And most people don't notice it because these children come to the US without any type of identification or any sort of understanding their language. So on this next slide, I want you guys to see a video, and I just want you to understand what sex trafficking is and how it happens in the US.
It is as sinister as it gets, people buying or selling children for sex.
An awful situation. Now, there's an organization working behind the scenes to take it on. But we want to warn you here, folks, what you're about to see may be very difficult to watch. Hope Ford has our story.
Is this an uncomfortable topic for people?
It was uncomfortable for me. When we first discovered it with the Hope Box, I was mortified.
The Hope Box started in 2014, a nonprofit aimed at tackling the issues of infant and child abandonment. But with their work, they discovered infant and child sex trafficking.
Is that really what I think it is?
Yes, it is what you think it is.
Sarah Copen agreed to sit down with us and discuss the darkest and sickest crimes the organization sees.
They see these children as a market, as a commodity.
product.
Yes.
Who buys children and infants for sex?
I've seen old to young. It doesn't matter what your ethnicity is. It doesn't matter what your color is. It doesn't matter what your belief is.
In 2017, 60 people were arrested, 4 children found in an FBI-led sting that uncovered a child sex trafficking ring here in Georgia. Among the victims, a 3-month-old infant and her 5-year-old sister. Their going price? $600. Sarah discovered another case of a mother trying to sell her own baby.
This young lady was serving men in Atlanta. The infant was in the hotel room. She had gotten arrested, and when she was getting out of jail, she sent a tip to the aunt that had the infant and said, "My pimps told me I could get a good price for my baby. I'm coming for it."
Legally, police and DFACS couldn't stop the mother from getting her infant back. Sarah got an emergency hearing with a judge who stepped in to protect the infant. These stories are 2 of many, some too disturbing to share.
This child had no say in what was happening to them. And even if they cried out for help, it's not like they could ever describe it.
Infants and children are found online on the dark web. They're often referred to using animals as code names.
3-month golden retriever, a black lab.
But it's not just mothers selling their own babies. Children can be kidnapped and sold by others. Sarah is even more concerned today as the crowds descend on Atlanta for the Super Bowl.
We need to pay more attention than ever concerning, because it's easy to lose a child in a crowd.
While airlines like Delta release training videos to prepare their staff for spotting child sex trafficking, and Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottom steps up efforts to protect children, Sarah says the hope of saving them comes down to everyone being vigilant.
Please, if you see something, report it. Just because they're with an adult, that does not mean that is their parent. Don't ever look the other way. Better to be safe than sorry.
And speaking of better to be safe than sorry, there is an app called See Something, Send Something. It allows you to take a photo or send a text and of any suspicious activity that includes human and sex trafficking and send it right to law enforcement from your phone. If you want more information on that app or on the Hope Box, you can find that on my Facebook page. Just search Hope Ford. Now, meanwhile, sex trafficking in general happens all year long. It is not something that is specific to the Super Bowl. Tomorrow, I'll bring you the story of a young girl catfished on social media, then sold for sex for 3 years.
Now let's talk about the life of the victims afterwards. So all of a sudden, everything changes and they are in a safe place, but they are arrested and treated as delinquents. They are shown that they are the prostitutes, that they are working in the sex industry because they want to. So nobody gives them hope of what to do with their lives or the treatments or give them counseling of the trauma they have lived. They can't live a normal life anymore. Their life was taken away since the beginning of their childhood. So they don't know how their family are or what their friends were like or what an education is. And most of these victims don't come out of this. And their outcome of it is their death. So on this research, I found the psychological consequences of what happens to children when they get out of the child trafficking. So 11 children have PTSD, 11 children have mood disorders, and the 7 children react to severe stress and adjustment disorders. This shows that children after being trafficked, they do have depression, they do have problems adjusting, they do have all these types of diagnoses that stresses them out in order to live a proper life and to be calmed in their life. On this slide, I continue the research and it shows how the staff gave them counseling and how they wanted to help them overcome this psychological disorder that they have given them in the child trafficking. So they give them what they know that it will work for them because they had never had the mental health that they needed since their beginning of trafficking. So the indicators to know, according to the U.S. Department of Education, to know if a child is being trafficked is demonstrates a sudden change in attire and personal hygiene, relationship, or material possessions. So they stop caring about themselves and what they carry on them and what they have. Another thing is that they act uncharacteristically, promiscuously, or makes references to sexual situations. So when a young child starts talking about sex or does a sexual thing, we know that there's a problem with the child. Another thing is that they have a boyfriend or a girlfriend that are older than them. So sometimes we have to look into the children's relationship and who they interact with. Another thing is they attempt to conceal recent scars. So they try to hide when they're being harmed or hide if they're harming themselves or just don't care about themselves and just want to commit suicide. So in this slide, I just wanted to put some information of where we could call or where we can find help. So one of the options is to call local authorities, or we could visit the www.ice.gov/tips, where they give you information of how to report a suspected incident, or even call National Human Trafficking Resource Center, where they can give you counseling and they could help you overcome this type of things. The CRC articles that I found related to my project was Article 19, that is protection for all violence. So we don't know what type of violence they're living in the child trafficking. The other article I found was Article 34, which sexual exploitation, that we know that in child trafficking happens a lot. And Article 35, abduction, sale, and trafficking. So in the definition, it tells you about how sometimes children can be taken away and sold for sex or hard labor. So last but not least, I have my topic questions. So my first question is, what do you think parents should do to prevent their child from being trafficked? We see a lot of things. So you could think of anything or how parents can prevent from this happening. My second question is, we see that the way traffickers contact children is online. At what age do you believe children should be introduced to social media? So on my last slide, I have the sources where I found all my information. And on my second one, the source continuing. And that's pretty much it for my presentation. I hope that you guys enjoy my presentation and I hope to see comments. Thank you.